wish I had better news. Commander Data attacked us in the mission scout ship yesterday. Rolfo and I have decided to send in an assault team.
Data, the android, goes berserk, and Captain Picard prepares to take drastic measures in Star Trek Insurrection. It's one of 5 new movies we'll be reviewing this week on Siskel and Ebert. I'm Gene Siskel of the Chicago Tribune.
And I'm Roger Ebert of the Chicago Sun-Times. Star Trek Insurrection is the 9th Star Trek movie, and while the series can apparently run forever, well on into the 21st, even 22nd century, I'm sure this is not one of the stronger entries. One problem, the villains are below par. Another problem, the central question in the plot isn't very interesting. We learn that Data was involved in a secret surveillance of the people of the Baku race who live on a planet that's like the Garden of Eden and have apparently discovered the secret of eternal youth. On the planet's surface, Picard joins a Baku woman, and there's something about the very atmosphere of the planet that means love is in the air.
What you're seeing is a computer-driven image created by photons and force fields.
I know what a hologram is, Captain. The question is, why would anyone want to create one of our village?
Of course, that's Patrick Stewart as the captain and Donna Murphy as the Baku woman, who is, we learn, about 300 years old. Meanwhile, the secrets of the Baku are sought by Rolfo, leader of the Sonar race, which is dying out and is willing to use violence to preserve itself.
If Picard or any of his people interfere, eliminate them.
The Sonar want to forcibly relocate the Baku, which would be against the Federation's core beliefs, its prime directive. But Picard discovers the Federation High Command is willing to bend the rules.
Jean-Luc, we're only moving 600 people.
How many people does it take, Admiral, before it becomes wrong? 1,000? 50,000? 1,000,000? How many people does it take, Admiral?
In protest, Picard leads a revolt against the Federation. Meanwhile, of course, there are battles in space with the usual sparks and smoke filling the command deck of the Starship Enterprise, which most of the time seems to be on fire in these movies.
What's inside that nebula cluster?
Cometary debris, pockets of unstable Metreon gas. We don't want to go in there, sir.
Yes, we do. I'll take it from here, Ensign.
One problem I have with Star Trek Insurrection is that I thought the evil Sonar people had a pretty good point. Why not relocate the 600 Baku people if that might mean health and long life for billions of Federation inhabitants? The whole movie, in fact, is less than compelling. It feels creaky as it grinds through a fairly standard plot, and it's shorter than the usual Star Trek epic at only 103 minutes, as if even the filmmakers realized that their material was thin.
I don't think it was that thin. I think that speech about relocating in the numbers is pretty profound and in the spirit of the Star Trek films, and it's more profound, let's say, than anything Yoda ever said. And also, I thought the effects. Traditionally, Star Trek films have lagged Star Wars films, for example, in effects. Here, with the heads popping up and some of this, I mean, I hadn't seen that stuff before, and I like that. And here's something else. I found out who wrote this picture because I didn't think it was underwritten or whatever you're saying. It's a guy who used to work at this very television station where we...
My heart be still.
Yeah. Michael Piller. I knew him about 25 years ago. I'm not giving it a positive review because of that, but I'm just acknowledging that fact that, you know, there's something in the air that can work. I would say I wanted to move into that planet, and I think that's the drive.
Well, you know, it's a whole planet. It has 600 people in it. Why couldn't the Sonar move into another hemisphere or something? I mean, why does it have to be these 600 people or nothing? It seems to me like the whole logic behind this
Well, here's where the
business.
fountain, you go where the fountain is.
Well, but also the metaphasic radiation in the rings around the planet, Gene. That's also very important.
Yeah, I'd like to be on terra firma rather than in the rings.
Okay.
Okay, next film. And our next movie is Jack Frost, a child's fantasy in which an absent father comes back to life in the form of a magical snowman. Early on, we see that Dad, a struggling musician played by Michael Keaton, is too busy with his gigs to pay proper attention to his son, played by Joseph Cross.
Hey, come on, Jack. We gotta go. Yes, sir. Be with you in 1 second. Hold on a minute, dude. Look, see the guy's coming down right here?
Right.
Fencerman. You bring it back on the toe of the stick right here to the heel. Jack, now cut loose. There you go. Nice shot. Very good.
So, hold on. I still don't get it.
I know, but I'll show you when I come back.
But, Dad, I gotta learn it for the game today.
I'll teach you when I come back. I gotta go.
But before Keaton can change his ways, he suffers a fatal accident. A year later, he returns home, amazingly, to invest his spirit into his son's snowman.
I'm home. Hey, I'm home. Charlie, it's me. It's Dad. Hey, Charlie. Did you get the door?
Snowman, who is a creature of the Jim Henson Puppet Workshop, holds our interest for a few minutes. But then Jack Frost goes flat because nothing much happens before its predictable conclusion. There's little conflict in the story other than the obvious threat of a December heat wave, and the attempts at humor also fall flat. So ultimately, watching Jack Frost is like spending about 90 minutes with the Pillsbury Doughboy. And Roger, can you imagine parents' nights at school? Please, wipe up that puddle. I mean, there should have been some humor.
I'll tell you, Gene, I agree with all the criticisms you made of the movie, and I'll make one more. I could not stand the snowman. The snowman was creepy.
Yes.
I had the fingernails on the blackboard effect as I was looking at this unattractive, uncharismatic, weird creation with its... I didn't like the way its mouth moved, and its anorexic little twigs for hands. And then all I could think of was, get me out of here before I have to look at this creature one more second. You know, there's theory about special effects creatures. Like Spielberg made a great study of what E.T. should look like.
You need the eyes.
And got to have the eyes and so forth. Two little lumps of coal, just
don't make it.
Don't do it. They don't do it. No.
And there's no humor in the film, and that's what surprised me, too.
It's a real bad film. Coming up later, Hitchcock lives, sort of, in a shot-by-shot remake of Psycho. And coming up next, Gwyneth Paltrow is the inspiration for a Shakespeare in Love.
She fertile?
She will breed. If she do not, send her back.
Have you finished?
Yes, nearly. Good morning, Master. You will have a nice little pie. Yes! We need wealth for the Pirate King.
Ned Allen and the Admiral's men are out on tour. I need actors.
The young playwright Will Shakespeare, played by Joseph Fiennes there, meets with a theater owner played by Jeffrey Rush, and they're both broke and desperate for success in the brilliant and witty new movie Shakespeare in Love. The film takes place near the beginning of Shakespeare's career when the Lord Chamberlain keeps strict control over theaters, and he often closes them, especially in plague time. But Shakespeare has started writing a potential hit with the working title Romeo and Ethel, the Pirate's Daughter. Parts of it have been read by a wealthy young woman named Viola who admires his poetry and loves him. She's played by Gwyneth Paltrow.
Are you the author of the plays of William Shakespeare?
I am.
Then kiss me again, for I'm not mistook.
Alas, she is scheduled to marry the odious and cash-poor Lord Wessex in only 2 weeks. He's played by Colin Firth, who has essentially traded his title for her father's money.
Your father was a shopkeeper. Your children will bear arms, and I will recover my fortune. That is the only matter under discussion today. You will like Virginia.
Virginia?
Oh, yes, my fortune lies in my plantations. I fancy tobacco has a future.
Judi Dench, recently so good as Queen Victoria, has some sharp-tongued scenes as Queen Elizabeth, who sees all and understands all and keeps an eye on everyone in her court.
Have her then, but you're a lordly fool. She's been plucked since I saw her last, and not by you.
Shakespeare in Love was directed by John Madden from a literate, wicked, and funny screenplay by Mark Norman and Tom Stoppard. The love story between Shakespeare and Viola is full-bodied and fun, but so is the movie's richness of theater lore, as we see how plays were written, staged, and received in Elizabethan England. Like Stoppard's stage success, Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead, it locates its action around, behind, above, and between the lines of one of Shakespeare's great plays, which he finally decides to call Romeo and Juliet, although it is a close call.
This is a wonderful film, and as long as I'm mentioning screenwriters, when I saw the name Tom Stoppard, then I understood why it was so great, because this is magnificent. First of all, in the list of people you'd like to meet, Shakespeare's right at the top. Right at the top, okay. Well, we get to meet him. I mean, we get to see him work. It's glorious.
You know, I've just been reading Harold Bloom's book about Shakespeare, where he says that Shakespeare eventually created the modern personality by creating the first characters who were introspective and were able to look at themselves and question their own motives instead of just being complete at the beginning of the play. What's amazing is this great genius was at one time just a young man who needed money and was turning out this stuff and worried about opening night and couldn't pay the rent and the theater was going to be closed. And to create the greatest works in English under these circumstances.
You feel you're in the presence of greatness. The cast is glorious. Judi Dench again as the Queen, and you described her quite well as just all-seeing, all-knowing. This is a wonderful, terrific film. I would hope that teachers in schools, high schools and all that, would make this sort of required viewing for kids as they read Shakespeare.
It's a great film.
Coming up next, Gus Van Sant remakes a masterwork by Alfred Hitchcock in a contemporary color version of Psycho.
Say, that's the one I'd have picked for you myself.
How much will it be with my car?
You mean you don't want the usual day and a half to think it over?
No.
You are in a hurry. Somebody chasing you?
Of course not.
And that's a scene from a most curious film, a virtual, shot-by-shot remake of Alfred Hitchcock's classic thriller Psycho that he made in black and white in 1960. This new film by the well-respected independent filmmaker Gus Van Sant, who directed My Own Private Idaho and Drugstore Cowboy, as well as last year's big hit, Good Will Hunting, may have been a fruitful exercise for him in film scholarship, shooting it in color, and recreating camera angles, but it plays as just weird for those who know the original. Psycho is the story of a woman from Phoenix who steals some money in order to marry her financially strapped boyfriend. On the run, she checks into a motel operated by a strange young man named Norman Bates.
Is there a vacancy?
Oh, we have 12, in fact. 12 cabins, 12 vacancies. Cabin 1. It's closer in case you want anything.
That's Anne Heche in a role originally played, of course, by Janet Leigh, and Vince Vaughn, who attempts the impossible, playing the legendary role, the defining role in Anthony Perkins' career. He's simply not as creepy. Could anyone be?
I meant well.
People always mean well. It's not as if she were a maniac. She just goes a little mad sometimes. We all go a little mad sometimes.
Actually, it's hard to imagine how this project could have worked. Black and white has more impact, and once you know this famous story, it's hard to be shocked as you just sit there and wait for its most famous scenes. And the psychologist's concluding explanations of Norman's behavior, it was as hard to follow now as when I first saw Psycho nearly 40 years ago. What I really feel is if you want to see Psycho, it's obvious. Rent the original.
Rent the original, you're right. And the psychiatrist's statement is a complete waste of time. That I just cut that out. Hitchcock should have never put it in. But apart from that, I know this movie will be studied for years to come by film students curious about the experiment. What would happen if another good director took somebody else's film and remade it with a different cast? But the fact is, the cast, it's just like the original Psycho is. It exists. It's a fact. It's a classic. It's
There's
a moment
nothing
in
to be improved.
There's nothing to be improved on. Vince Vaughn, you're right, is not creepy enough.
Couldn't be.
I was thinking that maybe Jeremy Davies, the guy who plays the cowardly little corporal in Saving Private Ryan, might have been good casting. Or from this very cast, Viggo Mortensen, who's supposed to play the straight arrow boyfriend, is actually creepier than Vince Vaughn.
Roger, there are just some roles that you don't attempt.
That's right. If there's a role in all of film that you just can't duplicate, it's Norman Bates by Anthony
Everybody
Perkins.
wants to see
it's
him.
It's like somebody else playing Citizen Kane other than Orson Welles.
Okay.
What's the point? Okay. Next movie. And our next movie is the story of a legendary Dublin master thief known as the General, whose name was Martin Cahill, and he's played by Brendan Gleeson in a rich, robust performance as a middle-aged bad boy who enjoys tweaking his arch-enemy, a police inspector, played by John Voight. Here he brings cash to a bank to pay for a new house.
80,000.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then after getting a banker's draft, arranges a watertight alibi while his own men steal the cash back again.
I'm a fool, fella. Haven't much. That's up to here. But I can sleep at night.
Yeah, I've seen you outside me flat there a few times.
Oh?
No, you should drop in the next time you're passing, you know? Have an old jar.
Bank robbery across the street. Come on. The Celtic Bank. Come on, hurry up.
Disgrace for the profits these banks are making.
The General decides to steal valuable paintings from a country house and takes a guided tour accompanied by his wife and her sister. It is part of his unusual domestic arrangement that they both share his bed.
What's she writing?
We are delighted to have it here.
It's got to be a love letter.
No, because I just want to leave.
It's a shopping list. She send your woman down to the shop for a package of cornflakes.
The inspector knows or can guess more or less every crime the general commits, but proving it is another matter.
You're getting to be like me. Trespass, harassment, intimidation, beating people up. You've had to come down to my level.
The General was directed by John Borman, who won the Best Director Award at Cannes this year for the film, and it's both entertaining and poignant. Brendan Gleeson's performance creates a man of great ingenuity and a defiant, self-destructive streak. This guy is stubborn. There's humor and poetry in his makeup and tragedy waiting for him at the end of the line, but by the end, with his stubbornness and courage, you almost like him.
Well, you've talked about him. I like the John Voight character. And first of all, I mean, this is a great story in recent years. John Voight resuscitating his career.
Yes.
He's playing one interesting character in one interesting film after another, and it's great to see, because Voight had this sweetness in him, we thought. I mean, that was his,
yeah.
You know, the limits of his acting range. And much
now,
better than that.
Look at him in Anaconda, where he's
exactly.
regurgitated by the snake in still one of my favorite scenes of recent years.
Yeah. Coming up next, my video pick of the week, 2 movies set in red-hot Las Vegas.
In the classic tradition of Disney holiday entertainment,
did you see that?
Comes all the wonder.
You think he's okay back there?
He's doing fine.
All the excitement.
He's gonna try and save him!
And all the adventure. We have subject spotted. Of an unforgettable movie event.
Joe!
Disney's Mighty Joe Young.
That was so cool!
Rated PG. Starts Friday, December 25th.
Siskel and Ebert's Video Pick of the Week is brought to you by Nestle Raisinets. At the movies or at home, Raisinets.
My video pick is a double feature. 2 movies that use Las Vegas as their setting. Tourism is at an all-time high in Vegas, and no film captures the surreal aspects of the city as well as Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, directed by Terry Gilliam and based on the book by outlaw journalist Hunter S. Thompson. Johnny Depp plays the drug and drink-addled Thompson, who is assigned to cover a motorcycle race in Vegas in 1971, but stumbles into a law enforcement convention. But that's just the plot. What the film is really about is using Las Vegas as a metaphor and location for the worst of America.
Okay. Be quiet. Be calm. Name? Rank? And press affiliation. Nothing else.
The waitress about 16 years old. They chopped her damn head off right there in the parking lot. They cut all kinds of holes in her.
On the other end of the spectrum, in terms of style and attitude, is The Rat Pack. Set in the early 60s, it's the behind-the-scenes story of Frank Sinatra and his co-stars from nightclubs and movies. Ray Liotta does a good job as Sinatra, but I felt that Joe Mantegna created the most interesting character in the enigmatic Dean Martin.
Look, Dean, did you get that script that I sent you?
Oh, you mean Hamlet? You know I don't look good in tights, Frank.
No, you idiot. Some came running. Don't make me spend 3 months in Indiana by my lonesome, all right?
Listen, Dickie Bird, my character's a card shark with a taste for booze and bras. That might be too much of a stretch.
These 2 films are new on video, which is why I'm recommending them, and not the best film made in Vegas, Leaving Las Vegas, although, for fun, it's hard to beat Ocean's 11, starring the real Rat Pack, which was my video pick just 4 months ago. All of them capture the flavor of the fastest growing town in America. Look for them in your local video store.
Now let's take another look at the movies we reviewed this week. We split on Star Trek Insurrection. I thought it was one of the lesser Star Trek epics with a thin plot premise, but Gene thought it was one of the better films in the series. 2 thumbs way, way down for Jack Frost. 2 enthusiastic thumbs up for Shakespeare in Love with its romance and backstage politics in Elizabethan England. 2 thumbs down for Gus Van Sant's Psycho, and 2 thumbs up for John Borman's The General with its quirky, engaging performance by Brendan Gleeson. The film opens in New York next week. And now a correction. Last week, in talking about the DivX video format, I said that once you purchase one of these discs and bring them home, you can watch it twice in a 48-hour period. Actually, once you start looking at the disc, you can look at it as often as you want to within that 48-hour period.
Remember, you can hear our reviews on the web at Siskel-Ebert.com. Next week, we'll be back with reviews of more new movies, including the internet romance You've Got Mail, starring Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan.
Do you think we should meet?
Meat?
And also the drama A Civil Action, starring John Travolta and Robert Duvall. That's next week, and until then, the balcony is closed.
The new Roger Ebert's Movie Yearbook 1999, now with every recent Ebert movie review, available at bookstores everywhere.